Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome in, House Huddlers. Huddle up!
It is hard doing it like this.
Okay. It is.
I had a late start, but I caught up.
Yeah. Welcome into episode 97. We're almost to 100 of the House Huddle Podcast. As you can see, we got some new merch going right here. So definitely, if you're interested, let me know, and we can put some orders together for you. But episode 97, as always, I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. Joined with me is Justin Onayemi and Bob Weiss. We got the trio going today since it's the bye week, and there's no Bears football to talk about.
So the 3 was for the 3 of us, and we're 3 from 100 episodes.
And 3-0 for the last 3 games.
That's right. But I was so tempted to do a voiceover over the voiceover to throw Bob Weiss's name in as one of the hosts.
There is a little bit of something in the works. I just haven't finished it yet.
All right. Nice surprise. Maybe for the 100th episode.
Maybe. We'll see if I can get that done. All right. We're going to get into it, though. But before we do, please hit that subscribe button. If you are a Chicago Bears fan, definitely subscribe to this channel. You will be entered into a free giveaway for any Chicago Bears jersey of your choice. Player-wise, that's current, prior, doesn't matter. Also, if you are looking to make some bets on the NFL, Justin and I had a good week. I think Bob actually had a better week.
I had a very good week this week.
So definitely head on over. You can support our show and also find the best odds in your area and the best sign-up offers in your area by going to our sign-up page at signupexpert.com/huddle. And that is brought to you by BetStamp.
So 1, 2, 3, 4 between the 3 of us, 4 unique bets against the spread, and we hit every single one.
Nice,
including some parlays. So hey, get in on the action, people.
Get in, but bet responsibly,
of course.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of news and noise since we don't have a midweek episode from last week, previewing. There's no game, previewing the bye week. So we got some news or noise that Bob and I didn't do during the week. And then we have a little bit of other things to discuss, just kind of big picture things throughout looking at the rest of the season.
It's the third of the season break. Their bye is coming right at the third of the season. So I think it's a good time to look at the big picture.
Yeah. All right. Well, news or noise first. Actually, this one was one that Bob came up with. So I will read it out and we'll throw it to Bob to discuss it first since he was the one that came up with it. But news or noise, the Bears would still be 4-2 even if they didn't get the number 1 overall pick to land Caleb Williams.
So I'll give a little bit more background before I give my news or noise take. Like, this isn't necessarily just about Caleb Williams versus the other quarterbacks. This is to kind of give Ryan Poles some credit. Oh my gosh, we're starting real hot today. Ryan Poles some credit for what when we made that trade with Carolina, he did not know that he was going to get the number 1 overall pick, but he had to have been looking forward at the draft class in general. And you look at what these other rookie quarterbacks are doing throughout the league. Drake Maye looks like he was 270 yards 2 games in a row. Obviously, Jayden Daniels is looking pretty solid. Bo Nix has got his team 4-3. I forget the kid's name from Michigan. He's hurt, but are the Bears 4-2 with Tyson Bagent? Would Justin Fields still have this team 4-2? So I'm going to say news just because I do think that Caleb Williams has been obviously very good. He's getting better. I'd say that this last game against Jacksonville is one of the best plays best games a Chicago Bears quarterback has ever played. A lot of times when quarterbacks have good games for the Bears, it's because they make 3 or 4 really big splash plays. But this was consistent every play, every down, really good, third down throws, tight windows and stuff. But I think we got to be honest about the quality of the teams we've been playing so far. We've been blowing out these bad teams lately, which is great. So maybe with a lesser quarterback, are we still winning? Look at the talent on the roster. We go into every game we play with the defense we go in with. So So yeah, this question is just really it's an interesting thought exercise about what this team could look like if we didn't land the number 1 pick with Caleb Williams. And the message is that the team is still in pretty good shape, but obviously very excited about Caleb Williams.
So I know the segment is more interesting when there's diversity of opinion, but here's what I'll say. I initially was going to say noise on this, but then after hearing you kind of talk through it, I definitely see this as news. And the newsworthy part of it is just how smart Ryan Poles has built this team. And they talked about how this is the best landing spot a number 1 pick has ever probably entered into, which I think speaks to, had that fallen to the 5th pick, would they be devastated by what they would have? Not at all. He set this team up for success now with many different quarterbacks could probably be successful with what they have built and are continuing to build. That being said, I love that they got the number 1 pick. I love that they have Caleb Williams. But this team was ready to go this year. And I think even more so, hopefully a step or two coming in the years to come.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with news also only because
Boring.
I know.
Ooh.
I mean, here's the thing. We already know that Justin Fields, I mean, I'm gonna throw out if they didn't have the first overall pick, Justin Fields is your quarterback right now, right? Like, I don't think they would have went Jayden Daniels. I think they would have.
Maybe where we disagree. If they're picking 3rd, I think they're taking Drake Maye. If they're picking later, I think they take the kid from Michigan. Why am I blanking on the kid from Michigan?
JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy. Yeah,
I don't necessarily think that they do go that route.
Poles would have it reset the clock for him as the GM.
Yeah.
I don't think his clock was needing to be reset,
not a hot
though,
seat,
right? I mean, that's where I am with it. I think Justin Fields showed enough that I think, we went down this road before, but I think Fields would still be the quarterback here in Chicago. Either way,
interesting debate.
Either way, we saw him take the Steelers to 4-2, right?
Team to 4-2, yep.
He's already proven there. If he was doing the same things here in Chicago, they're likely to be 4-2 just because of the schedule that they had. That said, I mean, the Texans are 5-2. People look at the Colts, but the Colts are 4-3. They have a winning record. Granted, one of those wins did come against Chicago. Jacksonville finally got another win today, so they're 2-5. Obviously, the Panthers are the Panthers, but again, we keep talking about it. It's not just winning the games, it's how they're winning the games. I do think Caleb Williams is making a difference. I don't know if Justin Fields would have got them 35 and 36 points over the last 2 weeks, but I still think they would have got the wins.
Okay.
The one thing that I will say in Caleb Williams' favor in this kind of discussion, I think any of those quarterbacks I listed were still 4-2, but it's still the future outlook with Caleb Williams that is brighter. He is the best quarterback out of those 6 I think I brought up, and he's the one that you are just confident that he's just going to go in to some of these games against tough teams and he's going to deliver. We still don't know that about the other quarterbacks.
Well, and just real quick before I go to the next news or noise, you and I discussed it. I think you and I discussed it in previous episodes. Jayden Daniels is now hurt again, right? Or not again, but hurt.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we were concerned about. He's a smaller quarterback. I believe it's an oblique.
Yeah, I saw the hit that he took too, and it it wasn't it was a tough hit, but it wasn't like something crazy. But you just saw how he got up, stood up, and
tried to throw, didn't feel right, took himself out of the game. He wasn't happy, obviously. But you also saw Marcus Mariota come in. Again, right. It's the Panthers.
I said it's like a bye week.
Exactly. But I mean, again,
the JV team.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if Daniels can't go this week in week 8 against the Bears, and we're going to see Marcus Mariota. Will that offense still keep going?
Sounds like it will be another excuse if the Bears win. You won, but you played against Mariota.
Right.
I'll take the excuses. It's fine.
All right. Well, speaking of strength of schedule, okay? The strength of schedule update, there was one that came out today. Obviously, it's not fully set because there's still games going on. But it has the Chicago Bears right now with the toughest schedule left this season. Okay? News or noise, this proves that the strength of schedule means little to nothing going into the season. And I'm going to preface this by, we all thought, looking at the Bears, it was going to be easy, right? In fact, if I remember correctly, they were one of the top, or they were one of the easier schedules going into the season before the season started. Now, all of a sudden, and I know those early games don't count towards the rest of the season, it's now quite a bit higher than number 2.
So I'm a little confused on how to answer it, but all those things don't matter when you line up against them on Sunday or Monday or Thursday. You know, the NFL tries to get on every
Saturday
day.
now,
I
too.
think they have a Saturday game too. So
I think there's a Wednesday game
and a Friday.
Yeah, see,
No Tuesday night football yet.
no Tuesdays.
But it's irrelevant. It's when you catch teams. You know, like everyone has the Bears like probably as an underdog going to San Francisco. But San Francisco hasn't looked so great, and they're missing McCaffrey, and now I think Ayuk might be out, and the Bears are actually going to have a little extended rest going into that game. There are so many factors, but just come ready to go every single week. And I think the Bears, some people might think, oh, the Bears are like haven't beat anyone, whatever. You just start looking at some of the rankings of where they're at in turnover. We're going to do that later in the episode. Yep. In points per game, both offensively and defensively. You're going to have to fight to beat the Bears. Now, that being said, a lot of the teams on their schedule are in a similar situation, and a huge part is because you're in the NFC North, which up to this point is by far the best division in football, and you've played 0 out of 6 of those games.
So I'm actually going to just kind of say noise. I do think strength of schedule matters a little bit. You can't discount what the Bears have played already, and these teams coming in weren't going to be very good, and then turns out they're not very good. You know, the Titans and Panthers, and I guess Jacksonville's supposed to be better, but I remember last year, the last game of the year in Green Bay, everyone, we were feeling good about the Bears. We wanted to go in and send a message to Green Bay, and I'm sitting here thinking, I honestly, I don't care. I think I'd rather lose because I want that last place schedule. And so the difference between if we would have won that game and played a third place schedule, the 3 teams that would be different would be we'd play the Jets, we'd play the Falcons and the Seahawks, but instead we lost that game and got a last place schedule, and we're playing New England, Carolina, and Arizona. So that kind of stuff matters, it obviously there's surprises. People don't think the Vikings are going to be good. Now, seeing the Bears on a team schedule, they're not feeling so hot about that either right now. But there's definitely something to what you expect a team to be going into a season. It's not everything, obviously, but there's something to it. There's definitely some correlation.
Yeah, so I think strength of schedule obviously matters to a degree, but I think to my point, and maybe I didn't know which one. Yeah, maybe I didn't relay this enough in how I wrote this, but when they were going into the season, I mean, no one thought the Vikings were going to be, 6-1, 5-1, whatever they are. No one thought they were going to be 5-0 going into this week. Yes, they're 5-1. Their strength of schedule, and that at that point would have been they were projected to be much lower, and that's the reason why, obviously, going into the year, that strength of schedule was a lot different than it is now, right? Because now you still see them playing Detroit, you see them playing Green Bay, and they change as the teams keep winning, right? So that number can go up and down. It can fluctuate as the season goes on. If, maybe Minnesota goes on an 8-game losing streak. Once we go to play them, boom, it's going to drop, right? But my point is that I think it's news to the point that going into the season, you don't know who is going to be the good teams. You don't know who's going to be the bad teams necessarily. Not everyone's going to be the Carolina Panthers, and they're going to be bad. Not everyone's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're going to be good.
Well, and maybe we have a close-up view of what I'm about to say because we're, fine-tooth combing through the NFC North. But I'm getting a sense that the NFL is shifting a little bit where there aren't like the juggernauts. Like you look across the NFC, especially not just this season, but hopefully in the years to come, there's a lot of teams that feel like they're right where they need to be and they're headed towards that, competitive window of being in the title, as opposed to many years where it's just like the Niners, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills. And it's like, which of these 4 are going to win?
Right.
It's kind of wide open. And so strength of schedule, I mean, there's a lot of parity. So you're going to face tough competition every single week.
Yeah. And I think your point is don't worry about strength of schedule, whether this is news or noise or not. Just beat the teams you need to beat. Show up every game day.
Every
game day. Anything else to add on that, Bob?
No, I think we covered it. It's good.
All right, let's move on to the last one. Speaking of the NFC North, and I'm going to do this a little bit individually here, so it'll be a little bit longer, but let's kind of rapid fire it.
Yep, rapid fire.
The Bears have little to no shot at beating the Vikings this year. I'm going out of order here.
I wanted to go Lions first. I got me first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to be very consistent throughout this. They have a shot to beat the Vikings. I think the Vikings, who just lost today to Detroit, of any of the teams so far, you could make the argument that you're worried about their defense just as much as you might be worried about their offense. The Vikings are the only team of those four, well, of those other three, I guess you should say, that I would even say, maybe their defense is better than the Bears. But they gave up 30 to Detroit today. So I think the Bears definitely have a shot. It's going to be tough.
So noise.
Yeah, I'm going noise, and I know we're going to go through each of the NFC North teams here, but it's noise. I mean, the Vikings are going to be a challenge. I mean, like Justin said, the defense is going to be tough. Even though they gave up 30 today, I think they're going to be particularly tough on the Bears because of what they do is so unorthodox and different. That's going to be tough for a rookie quarterback, and then they got a pretty strong defensive line, so that's going to be tough for our offensive line. So that in and of itself is going to be a challenge, but we're coming into that game with our defense too against, I think Sam Darnold is better than a lot of people thought Sam Darnold was going into the season. That's what I was thinking. And, he's fine. He's, somebody has to be the 26th best starting quarterback in the league, and that's Sam Darnold. And so I think our defense going into that game is, we got the advantage on that side of the ball. So they'll present a challenge, but absolutely we have a shot to, beat the Vikings, split that series.
So I'm going to cheat a little bit, but I'm going to say noise only if the Bears secondary is fully intact, because they're getting Hawkinson back by the time Chicago plays them, and to go against Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, that's going to be brutal, and you're going to need at least 2 out of the 3 defensive backs that are currently banged up right now healthy to make them have a legit chance. And the reason I think that it's going to be a struggle is mostly because our offensive line is nowhere near ready for Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big concern for me.
To your first point, though, I think it is news that the Bears have extreme depth in the secondary.
Yeah, if there's any position group that can handle what they're dealing with right now, is the secondary.
Right.
All right, let's go to another NFC North opponent.
All right, next one up is, we're just going to go reverse order here. We're going Packers.
To Bob?
Yeah, to Bob, Packers. By the way, fuck you, Packers.
Yeah,
we're not supposed to win today.
Yeah, what is that nonsense? I can't stand. I didn't realize how much I hated the Packers until Jordan Love is actually kind of good, and now I can't.
You got 2 Hall of Famers in a row, but no.
I mean, I don't think Jordan Love's a Hall of Famer, but it's just annoying. It's just frustrating. But anyway, so the answer: do the Bears have little to no shot of beating the Packers? That also is noise. It's because Jordan Love kind of has a bit of Brett Favre in him. He's kind of got this gunslinger mentality. He's so good because he's not afraid of any throw, but there probably are some throws he should be afraid of. And this Bears defense, can turn over. What he had 2 or 3 picks today, I think. Yeah. Against Houston. So I think the Bears defense can do the same to him. And then, the Packers have a nice defense, but the Bears are rounding into a nice offense. So I think it's just, it'll be a good football game. Like watching these 2 games today, I did watch a bunch of Packers, Texans, and watched Lions, Vikings. I'm excited for the future of this Bears team about going into games against other good teams and it being a competitively good football game for 4 quarters. Whether we win, whether we lose, I don't really know, but I just, I'm excited about seeing that potential.
Yeah, noise as well. I mean, you covered every aspect of why it will be a good game, and a good 2 games, a good competitive 2 games, but they scare me less than the Vikings, I would say. Jordan Love has had times where he's prone to mistakes, and the Bears have an opportunistic defense. Not to sound like a meatball fan, but the only thing that's kind of scarier, I would say, about the Packers is just how abysmal your recent history is against them. So almost like a curse of sorts. But I think Caleb Williams has been here for a little while, and already you're calling back records from 1956. So I think it shows there's a lot of things that are going to be changing, a lot of curses that are going to be broken.
I'm excited about the future of that Sunday segment this week in horrible Bears history.
I think it could be a weekly segment
where they have the graphic where it's like how many quarterbacks the Bears have had versus how many quarterbacks the Packers have had.
Or any team, most teams.
Yeah, so. But I mean, specifically, I feel like they bring it up against the Packers.
Of course.
Are you?
Noise.
Okay.
Okay. Start with that next.
I am totally going noise. I think Green Bay is the weakest out of the 3 other NFC North teams. You've mentioned Jordan Love, who, by the way, is tied for the league lead in interceptions this year with 1 less game than the other 2 players. Patrick Mahomes also, by the way, has 8 interceptions, but through 6 games versus Jordan Love with only 5. Jordan Love sucks. He got 3 touchdowns today, but again, screw you. One of them was a little fucking flip pass. Bullshit. Okay, this is the same thing we saw last year. These little short passes. I'm not really
DJ
believing
Moore
this.
Came half a yard away from scoring on one of those, and we would have said Caleb Williams with 5 touchdowns.
Yes, I know, and I am totally bear goggling this because I am not believing anything that's coming out of my mouth right now. Jordan Love is a good quarterback, and it pisses me off that he is. But to Bob's point, I don't see him ever making the Hall of Fame. I don't see him becoming great. I just
hope he never matures.
To be clear, I wasn't saying he's projected for that. I just mean after 2 in a row, they should have felt a very far
why
couldn't on one? Just one.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they have had the Bryce Young of the situation? But yeah. So just to point out, Chicago right now is on average per game is scoring 24.6 points. Only allowing, though, 16.8. Green Bay is scoring more than them at 27. But their defense is also allowing 20 points per game. So I think the Bears' defense matches up well, and I think their defense will keep them to a low enough score. And I think Chicago can put up 24-plus points on them and get the wins.
All right. Can I go Lions?
Lions.
All right. I'll start this right. Noise, big time noise. I think the Lions might be the best of the 3, but the Bears have played them well last season, have a vastly improved team, and I feel just for that reason, it's a very winnable opportunity. So, here we are saying these are 3 very good teams, and yet you can see the Bears beating any one of them.
Yeah.
I hope they can go 3-3. I mean, you could see them losing to any one of them as well. So, even though I went noise, Bob, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm also going noise on the Lions for the same reason. The Lions are, very similar to the team they were last year. They're just a year better, a year more mature, a year more refined in their system. But the Bears, beat them last year. Should have been twice, but, there's some issues on our end closing out one of those games. But, yeah, that's noise. The Bears can beat the Lions. They were saying the Bears will beat the Lions. I don't know, but they can for sure.
That was the old Matt Eberflus.
Right.
Who couldn't close out games. I do think having a roster helps a coach, but
no doubt.
I'm crazy like that.
Having a quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm obviously going to go noise as well. And I think, maybe just the fact that any team can win any week obviously kind of makes it noise. But I'm just seeing so many people talking about how tough the NFC North is. And so many people also saying that the Chicago Bears are the bottom feeder of the division. And look, they're 4-2 right now. They are the bottom of the division. But just going into this week, not counting what's happened this week, going into this week before week 7 took place, Chicago would have been tied or in first place in 5 out of 8 divisions. It's just a tough division. And I don't see why they can't split, at least go 3-3, like you said.
Yeah, well, and everything that did shake out today, if it started today, the very unlikely scenario of 4 teams from the same division all would be in the playoffs. The Bears would actually be the 7 seed as it stands right now. So, as much as
real quick, just like a quick recap of this. Obviously, we hope we go 3-3, but the question's phrased: we have no shot of beating them. What do we think is more likely? The Bears go 2-4 in the division or 4-2 in the division?
Give me 4-2.
Yeah.
I'll go
Honestly,
4-2.
I think 2-4 is probably more likely than 4-2, but just because like I don't want to give the Bears the credit until I see it.
Well,
Let
in
me
the second
see
half
it.
of in the second half of the show, we're going to talk about some of this, but I want to almost think in a pessimistic way and still show how good of an outcome the Bears season could be, even with kind of a more pessimistic view. Because 2-4, I thought you were going to say which is more likely, 2 or 4 versus 0-6.
Oh no, they're not going to go 0-6.
That's my point. So they're going to beat somebody, and they might beat all 3.
By the way, real quick, Jared Goff against the Chicago Bears has thrown 13 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He definitely does not play well. I don't care who your defensive coordinator is.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's take a break.
All right.
Oh, were we going to do that other part?
No, we're going to take a break first, and then we'll come back and just go through a couple trade rumors that are going on and then get an overall picture, even though we kind of already talked about it, a little bit further picture of where we think Chicago is going to go for the rest of this back half of the season. For now, enjoy these ads.
And we are back in a special Hallis Huddle episode where you get 3 hosts. I'm Justin Onyemi, Rob Schwartz, and Bob Weiss. This is actually episode 97. We normally name a bear who we want to honor with this episode. And
I got too excited.
We didn't discuss this. Yeah, we got right into it. But we didn't discuss it. So I'll throw out a name. I'm not sure if he's worthy, but the first one I thought of was Chris Zorich.
Oh yeah, Chris Zorich was like kind of the guy when we were, 8, 9, 10 years old, like Chris Zorich, Notre Dame and everything. Like, yeah, just seemed like a nice guy. The other one at Mark Anderson is the guy who came on huge, during the Bears Super Bowl year as a rookie. Took Alex Brown's job for a little while. And then Rob, you got one?
Well, I'm this is based off memory as well, but I believe Michael Haynes was also member 97. Yeah. Yep. So those were the 3 guys. I had 2, which is funny because they're all defensive linemen, obviously 97.
Yeah. And a shout out to, Andrew Billings as well.
Yeah.
Currently, yes, which is
very good point. We sometimes have a bias towards the current, but so what are we going to go with here?
We want childhood, we want Super Bowl,
I mean, for me, it's Zorich, and the reason is my dad was a huge Zorich fan, had a Zorich jersey, signed Zorich jersey.
There you go.
So.
Good enough for me. Chris Zorich episode.
For me. Chris Zorich episode. So before we went into the break, Rob, you mentioned the trade dedeadline has been a big thing in the Ryan Poles era, and that is coming up on Election Day.
I was just going to say, November 5th is a very important day for us. Just
as a Bears
has
fan
nothing
base.
to do with the presidential election. Nothing to do with it. It is trade deadline day.
I'll have my eye on a few things that day.
I mean, I'm voting early, so I don't even care.
There you go.
I will be out of town, so I cannot vote on Election Day. I will be at the Kansas City Chiefs game the night before.
Interesting.
Which will be my first time going to a non-Chicago Bears stadium. So let's get into trade rumors. Ian Rappaport came out with a bunch of trade rumors over the last couple days, and there were 2 names on that list that involved the Chicago Bears. The first one is Khalil Herbert. So Khalil Herbert, I'm going to throw it to you first, Bob. Do you trade him? And if you are trading him, what would you expect to get in return?
So if I'm other teams, I'm definitely calling about Khalil Herbert. He's just a good, solid running back. I know we covered him in detail a couple episodes ago. If I'm the Bears, I'm not necessarily looking to trade him because, like we said, if someone of our guys goes down, you just get Khalil Herbert to go in the game. That's awesome. And then actually with some of these blowouts that we've had at least last 2 weeks, I would have liked Khalil Herbert to be getting those fourth quarter carries. Like, we talked about, he's a volume guy. Let him get in there and kind of seal the game. Let's not, I'm not talking about, worried about injuries, but, get Khalil Herbert his carries that way. What would I take? I mean, if someone offers a 4th, you got to listen pretty good about that. But for what it ended up being 7 or 8 games of Khalil Herbert, I don't think you're getting that. So are you taking a 6th round pick and, losing your insurance at running back? Like, I don't think you are. So I'm not looking to trade Khalil Herbert. But like I said, if I'm the Cowboys, if I'm one of these other teams and need a running back, I'm calling for sure.
Yeah, Bob, you nailed it on the head. word for word, pretty much. I mean, he has not shown that he has much value to the team in terms of his statistics this season, but we know what he is capable of, and a running back is a tough position. I mean, are you going to go the whole season without DeAndre Swift or Roshan Johnson getting banged up for a game? And then would you rather go to Khalil Herbert, or would you rather go to Travis Homer, or Velus Jones? I think Herbert has the proven track record that you would want. Now,
Totally forgot Velus Jones is a running back now.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry to bring back that idea, but that's my exact point, actually. But for a 4th round pick and a guy, I just don't think Khalil Herbert has a future in Chicago beyond this season. So for a 4th, I might move him, and then, hey, Travis Homer, you're our emergency guy to get us through a game if one of these two gets injured, or the other guy just has to be the workhorse that game. But for anything not, 5th, maybe a 5th, you got to think about it. But anything later, you keep him as your backup.
Yeah, so Khalil Herbert is an undrafted free agent, but I think we see a lot of undrafted free agents when it comes to running backs find success in the NFL. But if I'm Ryan Poles and my phone rings, in fact, I have a phone. My phone rings and I'm getting someone asking me about Khalil Herbert, my response is going to be, and I think Bob hit it on the head, I will only consider it for a 4th rounder or better. And I don't see any team they're going to hang up, because no team's going to give you that for a guy like Khalil Herbert.
Depends on their level of ambition and if they were to sustain a key injury or something. I mean, he has starter experience.
Yeah, I think most of the league sees the running back position the same way. We're just going to plug and play.
And I think Khalil Herbert was a 5th or 6th round pick or something like that. So, like, if you're trading a 4th for him, the team just will use that 4th round pick on a running back in the next draft instead. Like,
I just thought, if it's like the difference in their minds of, are we serious contenders this year? Does he get you over the top this year because you lost your star guy? But
again, I think it depends on what the situation is. If you're down to your 3rd, 4th running back, typically a team's going to want guys who have been there through their process and understands their playbook, and versus bringing someone in midseason.
Right. I know we're going to talk about another guy, and we'll get to it real quick. But basically, I don't think the Bears should be in a hurry to trade him, but I also see how other teams aren't going to give up a whole lot. Yeah. So in all likelihood, I think he stays.
You don't want to give up that insurance policy. You can't.
Right.
Because you're seeing these other teams go through the same thing. Plus, let's talk about it. Roshan Johnson has missed time multiple games every year.
Yes.
Right? In fact, didn't he already miss the start to the season this year?
He was inactive.
I think he just had limited timeshare.
Yeah, I thought it was the first game he was still on concussion protocol, but I could be wrong. All right. Well, the next one, and I'm surprised that this name was even on Ian Rappaport's list. Ian Rappaport must have had some really, really strong stuff this weekend, but we saw Chase Claypool get traded last year, so Nate Davis is on the list. Justin, are you trading Nate Davis, and what are you giving up, or what are you taking for him?
If they're willing to give us spare balls that Torrey Taylor can practice punting, I take that deal. Anything you can get for Nate Davis,
as long as they're not deflated,
go ahead and send him. Now, the reason Ian Rappaport even came up with this, I'm guessing Poles said, "Hey, dude, there's my phone won't stop ringing about Nate Davis. Hype that up, okay? Go talk about that." He just hasn't been a fit with the Bears. And when you make a mistake, you can dwell on it or move on from it. And I think they have moved on from it. When Jenkins got hurt last game, or 2 games ago, I can't remember.
2 games, yep.
2 games ago, they brought in Bill Murray. That tells me, and you're getting Ryan Bates back soon, there's not really a spot for Nate Davis. I'd be shocked if another team wanted him, but I'll take anything at this point.
Yeah, same. I mean, a ham sandwich, whatever they're offering, take it. The thing that's interesting about the Nate Davis thing, though, is he's still whatever. He was a very successful player in this league for a while, so there might be a desperate team that wants to get him. What's interesting is if the Bears are willing to pay the rest of the money on the contract. I think next year it's almost all not guaranteed. So if the Bears are willing to pay the rest of the money, maybe you can get a 5th for him or something like that, So I honestly, I didn't hear this from Rappaport. I do think it's fascinating as anybody come up, but I imagine he's only actually going to get traded if the Bears were going to pick up that money.
Yeah, I think your take was pretty good on that with Ryan Poles calling and pushing the narrative. But yeah, so when it comes to Nate Davis, I look at it as the same situation as Chase Claypool. I really do. And I think if he's not going to be used here, there are teams that might be running a different scheme that he might have a better chance of playing in. To Bob's point, he has had success in the NFL. I think you could get a 6th or a 7th round pick for a guy like Nate Davis if you're willing. Well, they have to. They're going to have to pay the salary this year, and they're going to have to pay. I think it's somewhere between $1 and $2 million for next year.
Yeah, I mean that money will come whether they trade him or cut him. Like that money.
Exactly, it's dead cap money.
Yeah.
It's dead cap money.
Yeah.
So trade him, get a 6th or a 7th round pick for it. I don't care. Those picks are throwaway picks for me, but let's get something for him. I'd be completely on board with that.
Can I speak to the big picture of the trade deadline just from the Bears' perspective?
Yeah, can I throw one thing out before you do that?
Yeah.
So Justin segued this into where I was going to go. So big picture, a lot of people were wanting Hassan Reddick, right? Because he was one of the guys that was out there, was complaining about his situation with the Jets, didn't want to play, was trying to force a trade. Well, everyone wanted Hassan Reddick, even though he didn't really fit the Chicago Bears scheme. So I didn't really understand it completely. But hey, Bears are Bears. So Bears fans are Bears fans. They just want everybody as long as they're good. He just actually agreed to revise terms and is staying with the Jets. So hopefully this is where you were going with it. But there's a lot of opportunities out there. Ryan Poles has made trades every year before the trade deadline, whether it's sending people off, bringing people in. So big picture, where were you going with that?
Well, be careful with the word everyone. I did not want Hassan Reddick. And I think, yes, Ryan Poles in his 2 in-season trade deadlines has made a move both times. But both times, I feel like he read the market and did what was exactly necessary for his vision of where the Bears were headed. Claypool did not work.
Correct.
But at that time, it was a sharp move because they should have been sellers and they bought.
Yep.
And I would say this time around, I'd be very careful about making any kind of move if it's going to hurt the next year's team or the team after that when you're still in Caleb Williams' rookie window. The Bears have their own first. They have Carolina's second, which is a virtual first, and they have their own second. So you could have, 3 picks in the top 58 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that's valuable because they need some O-line down into the future. And some of these guys are like rentals in a way. Or you have to trade and then sign. That's getting into some tricky territory. Could you make it work? Yes. But I would say Ryan Poles' wiser move this time around might be to sit it out or deal a guy like Nate Davis. Let's not forget, he traded for Darrell Taylor. He traded for Chris Williams right before the season began. Those moves have already started to show. I don't know that you go for swinging for some of these Crosbys or guys like that.
Yeah, Williams got a sack last week.
Noise, by the way. Noise.
Bob, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I don't got anything to add. Justin covered a lot. I'm not really looking for a big swing here. I'm not looking for, like, the Max Crosby thing doesn't make much sense to me. It's like the Khalil Mack thing all over again. Like, yeah, Max Crosby on this defense would be awesome, but like the long-term cost for it is just, I don't think it makes a ton of sense. I want those extra picks that we have to build quality athletes in our trenches for the next 5 years.
And Eric Washington can coach Austin Booker into being the next Matt Crosby at a rookie deal.
Yeah. So for me, I look at it 2 ways here. One, if you're selling off a player like a Nate Davis, that's fine. Do that. That's perfectly okay at the trade deadline. I don't think they should be buyers this year. One reason, you mentioned Ryan Bates. 2, Larry Bourne. You're getting those 2 guys back. Offensive line is where they need. Everyone keeps wanting this defensive line situation. And I get the Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, Hassan Reddick. I like the idea of having those top players. But you got to pay them. You got to figure out how they fit in your system. Those things just don't happen naturally. Right? Myles Garrett might be the one exception to that rule. Cleveland's not getting rid of Myles Garrett. They just I can't see that they would. He's the only person left on that team that's worth anything.
They're taking all 3 of those picks I just mentioned. If they're
more. You're giving up way too much. Ryan Poles told us he wants to build through the draft. That's what he's going to do. Those picks mean way more to me. Just take the Ryan Bates coming back, take the Larry Borum coming back, try to work them into your offensive line, see how that goes, because good teams aren't getting, even bad teams aren't getting rid of, outside of the Larry Tunsil trade from Miami to Houston, aren't getting rid of top offensive linemen. And that's what you need right now. So to me, the trade deadline is just, you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them. We're just staying put.
Yep, stand pat. So I was saying how the bye came about a third of the way into the season. And then the next third kind of lands around Thanksgiving Day, and the Bears play on Thanksgiving Day. So that's kind of like that quasi-bye when you play on a Thursday all the way to a long Sunday. That's when they go to San Francisco. So it's kind of like they're getting a break at the third point, and then they'll have a mini break at the 2/3 point. We'll have to do another 3-person episode to kind of see where things are shaking out. But you got to like where they're at.
Yeah, that might actually be a Bob and Justin episode because I'm leaving to go out of town right after Thanksgiving. So
that's true.
Yeah,
we could all take a break, digest.
I mean, I could do the podcast from Florida. We'll see. All right, I'm going to throw out a bunch of stats and numbers, and I'm just going to go blah, 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 right at you guys, and then let's make something out of it. We're going to take word salad, numbers, garbage, put it together, and make a segment out of it. But, all right. A short segment. So, rest of season outlook, and here's some numbers to think about before we get into it. Right now, the Chicago Bears are 9-5 over their last 14 games. They're 7-2 in their last 9 NFC matchups, okay? They are on a 9-game home winning streak, which, by the way, is the best in the NFL. They have 12 games in a row that defense have kept teams to 21 or less points. During their 3-game winning streak that had just taken place, they outscored their opponents 95-44. They've had back-to-back games of 35-plus points. 353 total yards per game average, and have allowed just under 300 at 297 total yards per game. So a 56% or 56-point differential in their favor. Furthermore, this season, through 6 games, the Chicago Bears are 12th in the NFL in points scored per game. I mentioned this earlier, 24.7. Third in takeaways per game with 2.2 per game. I will mention that the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, and the Lions are 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's pretty incredible.
In takeaways. Insane. This is why the NFC North is a tough division right now. The Bears are 4th in the NFL in turnover differential at +6. And here's a bad stat. They are 24th in the NFL in total yards per game.
Well, start with that last one. The first 2 weeks of the season were not the best for the Bears, for Caleb Williams, for Shane Waldron, for DeAndre Swift, whoever you want to, the O-line, you could throw them all in there. And those go towards your season stats. Those games happened, but I think the arrow is pointing up for all those people I just mentioned. So I like where they're headed. I know when you read stats like that, it does have an element of like cherry picking to it. But when Ryan Poles came in, when Matt Eberflus came in, they brought this thing to the ground. And now is the time to build it up. And so you kind of have to look at the more recent stuff as what you hope to see moving forward. And you throw away a lot of the mess that was before that. But I think playing very well at home is important. You know, when we talked about can you beat the NFC North, they got to come to Chicago where you have established a somewhat good home advantage. That's where you're going to win some of these games too. And I think those numbers do speak to moving forward. Like, for instance, a 3-game winning streak has not happened since Eberflus has been here. In the next 5 years, I see the Bears going on many 3-game winning streaks, unless you don't count a 6-game as 2 threes, you know? I hope that this is the direction they're headed. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway from these stats is just like the Bears don't suck. which is great. Usually the Bears do suck, right? The first stats you take, like their sample size of 14 games, 9-game home winning streak, 12 games in a row, 21 or less. Like that's enough time to like a team that sucks can't do that, right? And then the last 3 games that we've just kind of blown these teams out that do suck. That means we don't suck. And some of the other stats, like Justin already hit on, the 24th in yards per game is because 2 of the 6 were terrible, right? And so you can't just cherry pick only those 4 and project those moving forward and say we're going to be awesome. Like it still is a little bit of truth of the whole thing, but the main message is the Bears are on their way up, and teams aren't preparing for us to play that week thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy game now. Like, no, they're coming in. We're coming in with a real defense and a real quarterback who seems to be rounding into playing in the league. So it's just a fun time to be a Bears fan. I'm really excited about, just like I mentioned earlier this episode, going into some of these games against other good teams and expecting it to be a competitive game for 4 quarters. Like that's just something that we just really have never really gotten here.
I don't know if you did it on purpose, Bob, but you channeling your inner Joe Madden. I mean, it's kind of similar to that. No, it's kind of similar to that. Of like it starts with just not sucking.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly after that, you are a force and you are something to be reckoned with. And I'm excited to be on the ride to watch that happen with the Bears, because I think that's what we're witnessing.
Yeah, that first game, by the way, was also the game that Caleb Williams did not even throw for 100 yards. That first game really brings that average down.
But they won that game, so we're talking about as a team as a whole.
Yes, that's why anyone could go 4-2, is what you were saying, Bob, right?
Yeah, I mean, if the defense is struggling and the offense can pick them up, fantastic. If the offense is struggling, the defense can pick them up, fantastic. If Torrey Taylor can put them in position to win games, fantastic.
Never apologize for a win. But hey, real quick, through the rest of his rookie contract, over under 2.5, if he plays 4 quarters, Caleb Williams throws for under 100 yards.
2.5?
Yeah, in the next 4.5 seasons.
I'm going under.
It's probably not going to happen too often. So
yeah.
I'm going under.
Yeah. No injuries? Yeah, I don't think so.
Right. I think an injury.
My point being kind of what Bob was saying is you can't throw those away, but the future is better than what we saw in those 2 games.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we've already seen. I mean, I've been posting it on Twitter, right? Where I've been putting out, I've been keeping track weekly where he's on pace for. And at one point, Caleb Williams was on pace to have basically more. Well, after that first week, he was on pace to have more interceptions than he was touchdowns, right? And it's slowly but surely changing over the weeks, right? Right now, he's on pace to have 26 passing touchdowns to 14 interceptions.
We would take that.
I would take that in a rookie.
Yeah, 100%.
I would definitely take that.
Yeah.
Over 4,000 total yards. I would take that.
Sign me up.
It's funny, like these stats that he's at, the 3,700 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, 14. Like that's basically the numbers that we were hoping to get to when we did our preseason episode.
And that's this close to every Bears quarterback record, and it smashes every rookie record.
Right. Yeah. As a rookie, that's the key, right? The sky is the limit. I am so excited for this team still. Even if they were 2-4 and they lost some of these games,
that would feel like same old Bears, though.
It would, but if we were still seeing the growth and the progression from Caleb Williams, if they lost it on a stupid punt return or something stupid that doesn't make me worry about the future, I'd still be excited.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the Texans lost today and the Vikings lost today, but they didn't really. They just played a football game and they lost. So what?
Fuck the Texans too.
Well, yeah, that too. But yeah, I'm just
no
to be good.
I will never bash the Texans for what they did for the Bears.
No, this is a new Texans. Lovie Smith is gone.
Yeah, but hey, that happened, and it's why all of this has aligned perfectly. So the Texans are in my heart forever,
and they're happy. CJ Stroud is way better than
I'm telling you, it worked out for everyone except for the Panthers.
It was in the game. It was in the scripts, the NFL scripts.
All right.
Extra. Anybody have anything else they want to address before?
No, I think we're good. It's exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking forward to just It's hard to have a whole week where you don't get to watch the Bears. Although there have been years where it was a reprieve.
Yes. We were
Right.
like, the Bears won this week. It's bye week.
They didn't lose. That's not the feeling I have now. So we're excited.
And this upcoming matchup, Bears versus Washington, I'm hoping Jayden Daniels plays just because I want that
Yeah, I
narrative.
hope so too. And did you see that they moved it to like the national afternoon game with Nance and Romo and everything? And then if Jayden Daniels can't go,
it's
like,
what you have to start getting used to now.
Yeah.
It's a new era for the Bears.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, until then, let's bear down.
Bob,
Claws up, and I did the right one this time.
Nice work.
Go Bears.